What's going on, everyone? Welcome to one of the most important videos of the season, the must draft sleepers. This is one I've been so eager to get out and I'm so excited to finally drop it. Before we jump in, make sure you click that like button, subscribe if you're not already, and make sure to follow us on Twitter. If you want access to all of our premium tools, including projections, the draft sheet, trade analyzer, and more, click that link in our description and sign up for our Patreon. Without further ado, let's jump into the must draft sleepers video. Starting off this sleeper video, the first must-draft sleeper is Jake Debrusk of the Boston Bruins. Debrusk had an unreal second half of the season and definitely put some eyes back on him. The former 14th overall pick showed his upside in 2018, where he scored 27 goals in 68 games, and most people thought that Debrusk was a true breakout candidate next season. But as we know, this wasn't the case, and Debrusk was dropped out of fantasy relevancy territory, and he really wasn't on anyone else's radar. But at 26, Debrusk seems poised for a big season. He spent almost the entire second half of last season skating on the top line with Marchand Bergeron, where Debrusk put up 18 goals, 27 assists, added a +9 rating in the team's final 39 games. His minutes rose to just under 16 per night, and his shot rate reached a career-high 9.6 shots per 60. With Marchand missing some time to begin the season, this may have a bit of a negative impact to Debrusk's production, but he should find time on the team's top powerplay unit until Marchand returns. I expect Debrusk to continue his strong production to end off last season, and for him to skate majority of the time in the top 6 on a Boston team that may surprise people despite the injuries. His ADP on Yahoo is 173 and has been taken in the 15th round. Our projections for Debrusk this season may be on the conservative side at 27 goals, 23 assists, 194 shots, and 58 hits. For a 15th round pick and the upside for this season, Debrusk is definitely one of our favorite sleepers. Moving on to one of the highest upside sleepers for this video, Seth Jarvis of the Carolina Hurricanes. Jarvis is entering his second full NHL season after recording an impressive 17 goals and 40 points in 68 games as a rookie for the Hurricanes. That 2020 draft class is shaping up to be one of the best we've seen since 2015, with players like Lafreniere, Stützle, Drysdale, and Raymond being selected alongside Seth Jarvis. Upon call-up, Jarvis quickly found himself in a middle to top 6 role, and near the end of the season, he found himself skating on the top line with Aho and Teravainen. This is where his true upside is derived from. If Jarvis can find himself in the top 6 role again this season, which is what we're expecting, he can easily be a league winner at ADP 170. Jarvis averaged just 13 minutes and 53 seconds of ice time last season, mainly 5-on-5, but he did have the 7th most power play minutes for forwards on the Hurricanes. Although very early, and we do have to take this with a grain of salt, Daily Faceoff projects Jarvis to play on the top line with Aho and Teravainen and skate on the top power play unit. If playoffs are any indication of Jarvis' role this season, he had the 4th most power play time amongst forwards and skated over 135 minutes 5-on-5 with Sebastian Aho. Jarvis is looking to make a statement in his second full NHL season, and it looks like Carolina is going to give him all of the opportunity to do so. We've projected Jarvis' ice time at 15 minutes and 50 seconds, which honestly may be on the conservative side, and we do project him for 22 goals, 51 points, 137 shots, and 86 hits. His ceiling is extremely high, and Jarvis can easily finish as a 25-plus goal scorer with 60-plus points. We love Jarvis this season, and as I mentioned earlier, at ADP 170, he's one of the biggest steals in the draft. The next must-own sleeper for this season is Tanner Jeannot of the Nashville Predators. I'm still amazed at how good of a season Jeannot had, and yet fantasy sites are still ranking him below 150. In his rookie season, he impressed with 24 goals, 130 penalty minutes, 124 shots, and 318 hits. For a forward, the only other comparable player with this production is Brady Tkachuk, who you had to have drafted in the first 3 rounds. Jeannot was a fantasy stud. His 318 hits last season ranked him 2nd amongst players and 1st amongst forwards in the league. I expect Nashville to stay on pace with where they were last season. They didn't really make any major upgrades or downgrades, so Jeannot's 16 minutes average time on ice last year can seemingly only go up. His upside this season is 25 goals, 50 points, and well over 300 hits. Knowing that you can grab him in the mid to late part of your draft allows you to focus more on heavy scoring forwards that lack hits like Nylander or Gaudreau. I love Jeannot in all fantasy formats that include hits and especially in bangers leagues. Our projections for Jeannot this season is 82 games played, 26 goals, 17 assists, 130 shots, and 328 hits. At ADP 170 on Yahoo, you can draft the poor man's Brady Tkachuk and never look back. Moving on to the next sleeper, I am loving the outlook this season for Andrew Mangiapane. For me, one of the more difficult names in the league to pronounce, so bear with me. Mangiapane is a favorite here at Fantasy Puck. Not really talked about a whole lot last season, but we do love his outlook for this season. He managed to play all 82 games last year, a very big bonus when trying to draft players with his floor, and in those games, he scored a career-high 35 goals, 55 points, and shot a career-high 8.6 shots per 60. Many think this may be an outlier year, but his shooting rate was actually less than 2% higher than his career average. The main reason for my love for Mangiapane this season is that, as we all know, Calgary lost two 18 to 20 minute 100-point scoring wingers, and that means that someone's going to have to fill the void, especially with the scoring touch that Tkachuk left. Obviously, Calgary brought Huberdeau in, and he's a perfect playmaking forward to fill the role of Gaudreau, and this season, I expect Mangiapane to be the next man up to be the leading goal scorer for the Calgary Flames. Not only do I anticipate his 5-on-5 minutes to rise, but he will now finally have a spot in the team's number one power play unit, where I expect him to do most of his damage. Mangiapane has 40 goals, 70-point upside, and could exceed over 200 shots if everything goes right. This makes me laugh, but at ADP 170, it's going to be impossible for me to pass up on him. Our projections have Mangiapane this season playing all 82 games, scoring 40 goals, 30 assists, 168 shots, and 86 hits. Moving over to defense now, the next sleeper for this season is Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers. The number of times I recommended him last season may have exceeded my Fiala recommendations. Bouchard missed just one game and put up 12 goals and 43 points, including 200 shots and 100 blocks last year. He finished 9th in shots for defensemen, 9th in goals by defensemen, and was one of 30 defensemen with 40 plus points, all while playing significantly less time than the players above him. Going into his second full season with the Oilers, I expect Edmonton to really let him flourish on the Oilers' back end. Barry struggled for a good portion of the last season, and if Barry can find his way to the team's top power play unit, he will likely be a league winner. Bouchard played on the top pairing for more than half the season last year, meaning he spent a lot of time 5-on-5 with McDavid. I can see much of the same this year while be paired alongside Nurse, who is an elite defensive defenseman to complement him. Bouchard broke out last season, but I think if he can find his way onto the team's top power play unit, 10 plus goals and 45 plus assists are very achievable milestones. Our projection this year for Bouchard is playing all 82 games, scoring 14 goals, 41 assists, adding 208 shots and 78 hits. You really can't pass up this much value at ADP 103, which is actually a little bit less laughable than the last couple players I recommended. Moving on to what very well could be my favorite and most owned sleeper this season is Sam Bennett of the Florida Panthers. I was all over Bennett last year, enough so that I owned him in all of my leagues. He was a massive steal in last year's draft, and for some reason he is again this year. Yahoo just can't seem to get his ranking right, and he's falling extremely late in drafts. Bennett became a completely new player since his trade to Florida. They gave him a chance, similar to Verhaeghe, and he took it and ran with it. Bennett was just playing 12 minutes per night in Calgary. How is a player supposed to gain any confidence when they're given literally zero opportunity? Since his trade to Florida, he's averaged over 17 minutes per night, and this should only increase. Luckily for us, Bennett has played 81 total games in Florida, so this allows us to see his full season pace. Any guesses on his totals? You were probably way off. 34 goals, 30 assists, a plus 39 rating, 280 shots, and 148 hits. In most leagues, that would definitely put Bennett as a top 50, maybe even top 30 player. His strong season last year just cannot be overlooked. Bennett ranked 38th for 5v5 goals per 60, 12th for shots per 60, and 5th for individual scoring chances for per 60. He crushes every single player category, and this season, he's a likely candidate to find time on the first power play. As we all know, Huberdeau was replaced with Tkachuk, so that kind of cancels out. And I think the big news this offseason that will benefit Bennett is that Duclair had surgery on a torn Achilles tendon, and he may be out for the entire 22-23 season. Not only will Bennett see more ice time, but more ice time on the Panthers' lethal top power play. They ranked 3rd in the league last season with 64 goals, trailing only the Blues and the Avalanche. Bennett's in line for another massive season, and at ADP 143, he is by far the best value player in the draft. Please take Bennett everywhere, and I promise you, this will not be the last time you see his name on my channel. The final must-own sleeper and the only goalie on this list is Jake Oettinger of the Dallas Stars. Recently, I felt like more and more people are talking about Oettinger and how he really saved the Stars when he got called up. Our Fantasy Puck crew had really no idea why he was sent down to begin with, and why did Dallas think it was smart to play Hudobin and Holtby over their 22-year-old goaltending stud who put up a 2.36 goals against average the year prior? We'll never really know, but luckily, if you added him when he was recalled, you added a top-tier goalie. In 46 starts, Oettinger posted a 30-15-1 record, a .914 save percentage, and a .253 goals against average. Well above stats for a goalie, but his playoffs were even crazier. In 7 starts, Oettinger posted a 3-4 record, a .954 save percentage, and a .181 goals against average in that crazy defensive series between Dallas and Calgary. I love Oettinger's outlook this season. We project him taking about 75% of the starts, so 62 total starts, posting 33 wins, a .913 save percentage, and a .246 goals against average. That'll do it for the Must Draft Sleepers video. If you enjoyed the video and want more fantasy hockey content, click that subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.